Hello, imagine two siblings separated at birth who grow up to become rivals and partners in a dynamic relationship. This is the story of Malaysia and Singapore, a relationship that has shaped Southeast Asia's geopolitical landscape. As former Malaysia's High Commissioner to Singapore, I have been fortunate to witness this relationship at close hand. So, this is what I intend to share with you today. But first, a quick question for you. Did you know that the border crossing between Singapore and Malaysia is one of the busiest land border crossing in the world? Is it the third busiest, the fourth busiest, or the fifth busiest land crossing? For a brief period, Malaysia and Singapore were both part of a federation. But in 1965, Singapore became an independent state. Next year marks 60 years of bilateral relations. Now, the answer to the question: the land border crossing between Malaysia and Singapore is the third busiest in the world, after Mexico-US land border crossing and the Hong Kong-China crossing. Despite their rivalry, the bilateral relationship has been delicately balanced by a combination of stabilizing and destabilizing factors. Now, let us look at what the stabilizing factors are. There are three components to it. The first is economic complementarity. As Singapore did not have much land, it focused its strength on developing its port and Singapore as a financial center, whereas Malaysia has land and therefore it could go on into manufacturing industries. There was a complementarity in terms of economic specialization between the two countries. This allowed both countries to become important trading partners. Today, Singapore and Malaysia are their second largest trading partners. Total trade exceeds some $100 billion a year. Malaysia's exports to Singapore exceeds around 232 billion ringgit a year. Singapore exports roughly the same amount to Malaysia. Singapore is also among the top sources of foreign direct investment. In 2022, Singapore's foreign direct investment in Malaysia accounted for something like 20.5% of Malaysia's global foreign direct investment. Second, both countries share deep cultural traits, food, festivals, traditions. These shared similarities also help stabilize the relationship. I'm always surprised and amazed at how my Singaporean friends seem to know the best places to eat in Kuala Lumpur when I live here and I do not know some of these places. Third is familial ties. Now, this is a powerful connector between the two states. Both countries have members of their families living across the border. The current Prime Minister of Singapore, Mr. Lawrence Wong, also has his roots from Ipoh. Now let us look what the destabilizing factors are. Since separation, there have been a number of contentious issues that have been a source of friction between the two countries. The Pedra Blanca claims, for example, the unresolved maritime and airspace delineations, for example, have also been sources of friction. Over the years, these two countries have managed to resolve many of these issues. The next issue is water. Singapore depends on Malaysia for a significant amount of its water supply. There are several agreements that binds the two countries. These agreements go back to many decades. In the past, both countries have had disputes and friction over the pricing of these waters. You might remember this and this. But over time, both the countries have decided to abide by the agreements. After all, water is a resource that every human being needs. Since 2013, a new mechanism has been instituted that helped stabilize the relationship even more. It is called the Annual Leaders Retreat. Every year, both the leaders gather in either Singapore and Malaysia to take charge of the problems that they face and find quick resolution to them. Today, they have gone beyond settling problems. They are looking towards further promoting this relationship or taking it to a much higher level. With new leaders on both sides and common interests that seems to have aligned, I think both countries are at a critical inflection point. An inflection point, as you know, is a juncture where tremendous opportunities could open up. And let me share with you some of my observations to support why I think we are at this inflection point. In January this year, the leaders of both countries signed a memorandum of understanding for the establishment of what is known as the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone. The details are currently being worked out, and a formal full agreement is expected to be signed later this year, perhaps in October, when the leaders meet at their annual leaders retreat. It is an experiment at economic integration. For a start, it is expected to enhance cross-border flow of goods and services and people as well. Together with this, the completion of the RTS will further enhance connectivity between the two countries. Who knows, over time, maybe the high-speed rail may even become a reality. In any event, this experiment in economic integration is set to transform the way these two countries live and operate. In summary, Malaysia-Singapore relationship is a complex and evolving rivalry and partnership. Although there have been ups and downs, but when you take a long view, say over 60 years, you would agree with me that good sense had prevailed on both sides. Both countries have shown that even the most intractable of problems can be resolved. So, what do you think the future holds for Malaysia-Singapore? Do you think that cooperation can overcome rivalry in the years to come? In the future videos, we shall examine other details. But if you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and share your comments as well. Thank you very much.